Today, citizen journalism challenges the entire TV industry in many ways. Particularly, young people aged between 18 and 24 tend to watch considerably less TV news or any TV programs, consuming everything from the web. Studies from the Reuters Institute also show that last year, 60% of young people in UK use social media as a primary news source. Additionally, some of them use social media even further by producing their own content and sharing it with peers, predominantly via YouTube. The questions are, can we count these experiences as journalistic? Can this content change the TV landscape, and what is the response of professional TV industry to these activities? Let's find it out. Student television stations and universities are the places where future filmmakers, journalists or content producers can learn the process and then generate the content which is attractive particularly for their age group. Sarah Badensby, who has been GAS controller for the last 2 years, is inspired by her experiences in her role and looks forward to producing her own programs on TV.
Thursday night, and tonight they're hosting the annual Freshers Ball.
While being a part of GAS during all her student years, she has produced content which responds to and addresses young people's interests. Mainly because of that, platforms such as GAS can be seen as a network of young producers, an alternative to TV, who try to fill the gaps left by mainstream media with content oriented for youth.
A lot of the programs that we make are based around university events, so we have certain genres, I guess, which need to be fulfilled within the GUS content, such as arts or news or sports. So for categories like those, we often focus on campus-based events. However, some of our best content, such as comedy or drama or documentary, is very much based on our students' interests. So that could be something that is not campus-related whatsoever. It could just be something that people are interested in themselves generally. And I think that creative and innovative content is just as valuable as campus-based content because students want to see what other students are making and what they're getting up to.
Rollo, who is a political student at Glasgow University, has been producing news for GAS for the last year. He acknowledges that even if he is not determined about stepping into the professional TV industry in the future, this experience would help him to succeed in broadcasting sphere. But his interest in news production is obvious. He follows news media predominantly on the web, advocates news neutrality and balance, saying that if he could bring change to news production, he would probably separate news from advertisements. The one interesting thought he shared with me was regarding citizen journalism, which he dismisses as an alternative news source.
One move that I'm very not scared, but at least wary about, is a move to citizen journalism, where people use cell phones and their own video footage to basically do the news, which I think is a very dangerous thing because journalists are supposed to be these people who get the information, disseminate that information and make sure that they get the proper angle on it and the truthful angle on it. And if it's done by citizens who film something on their smartphone and upload it to the web, who's to ensure that anything about that is truthful? There isn't any process to that. The whole production process is completely abolished.
Blogging, as being inherently personal, in Rollo's view, cannot be claimed as an alternative news source as well.
And it doesn't necessarily mean traditional media. It can be something like the Young Turks, which is definitely not traditional media, but they have professional journalists in there who actually know what they're talking about, instead of somebody in their blog saying their opinion. I don't think that will be interesting to most people. I don't think it will be truthful to most people. And I don't think people will trust it, and that's a really core point.
There are enormous possibilities today to produce your own content through different blogging platforms such as WordPress, LiveJournal, Tumblr, social media like Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, Periscope, Vine, and of course YouTube. Successful vlogs have millions of followers, with the creators becoming huge stars. Names as Zoella, Tyler Oakley, Casper Lee are all known to us. It's so easy to set it all up that literally each of us can run our own YouTube channel. All we need to do is to find our niche, our audience, and start producing interesting and creative content.
Hi guys, this week it was announced that the network CBS had not picked
Blogger Lindsay MacDonald from Glasgow told about how she started her vlog on YouTube. The channel, which started as fun 4 years ago, now has grown into a scheduled and structured platform, which appeared to be quite useful when Lindsay applied for jobs.
Through my university years, I did a master's in international marketing, and so when I went out to look for jobs and I was getting interviews for social media jobs, it was really useful to have this sort of content online to be able to say, this is something I do, I know how to make videos and come up with ideas for content and use editing software and all that kind of stuff, and it was definitely something that employers were interested in.
Lindsay would like to expand her channel and making profit out of it. It's already much bigger than 4 years ago, and of course now it's entwined with social media hugely. As a vlogger, Lindsay thinks that social media and YouTube make competition tougher for television. She personally doesn't consume news from TV and worries about social media's monopoly tendencies. However, she endorses vlogging experiences as ultimately it diversifies TV production and amplifies choices.
And I think that social media and YouTube has just given it that extra push to say, well, you've really got, now not only do you have other channels to compete with, but you have this whole other world where young people, in fact people of any age, can make their own content. So they can take their phone and go, I'm going to make a web series, and they make it and people can engage with that, and so it's just made the sort of level of competition even higher.
Here at the BBC, it seems that they really care about their young audiences, giving them numerous chances to collaborate and to operate under different roles. Today, we will see a day of a news intern, Rachel. Later, we will also know in what other ways BBC Scotland cooperate with young and creative content producers. Let's go! Hello, Rachel.
Hi, nice to meet you. How are you?
Yeah, good. Thank you. How are you?
Good, thank you. So, if you want to come inside, I can show you a bit about what I do inside the BBC.
Great. Hello. Her apprenticeship started in 2015. After being rejected by universities twice, Rachel says that it was a big luck to get apprenticeship within BBC. She also adds that in this organization, people are interested in young talent, keen on learning a new pool of journalists, and when it comes to suggesting something, people here tend to listen and give you a chance to set up things. Rachel, as an intern, is involved in a range of activities on TV, radio and online.
Died in hospital after being airlifted from Calderhead High School.
Her passion is visual storytelling. She, for example, was first to set up a Snapchat account for BBC Scotland News. Rachel believes that social media should be expanded into mainstream news platforms, and of course she looks forward to having a career as a journalist here.
They run the scheme year on year, so there's always someone new coming in and getting trained up. So I do think they really are focused on getting new talent, and genuinely, it's going to sound so cheesy, but it has changed my life completely. Never in my life have I felt like you come into work and you're happy to come into work.
It's clear that the BBC makes significant steps towards online news production to connect and to engage with its underserved audiences, including younger generations. So it's very important for the BBC to encourage young and talented people to become a part of its content production. Senior online broadcast journalist Douglas Kennedy says that digital and news apprenticeships are very handy in that sense.
There's now digital journalism apprenticeships as well, and that helps bring in what we would look at as perhaps fresh talent to the newsroom, but also new perspectives, younger perspectives, digital natives, to use some of the jargon, and digital apprentices just now that are working across the newsroom but have also been working recently in the election, which again has helped us to kind of increase the variety of what we do, so we've been able to experiment with Snapchat and things like that.
Here at one of Glasgow's shopping centres, 3 young people are taking part in a news programme which is going out live on BBC Scotland. They are participants of Generation Project, through which BBC Scotland exclusively connect to younger audiences and encourage this audience to engage with BBC's output. The project was established in 2014 before the independence referendum and initially had a political agenda at its core, but now it has formed a pool of young, talented, determined and loyal to BBC's output contributors who live widely across the country.
And so I think there is an element probably of self-interest on behalf of broadcasters that they want to secure the loyalty and snag the interest of younger people so that we don't lose them to Netflix and YouTube and all the rest.
Dave Howard adds that this project has already enabled many young people to have extraordinary experiences within BBC, such as questioning, debating with or grilling high-profile politicians and doing it differently from traditional formats.
4 or 5 of the young people were in a lift with the party leaders, each of the party leaders in turn, and they had until the party leaders got out at their floor to get the answer to their question. And actually it was great. It was humorous, it was light, but it actually got through to some pretty hard-edged issues.
This time, these 3 teenagers discuss the terms of voting in a referendum, and they do it for the first time. And it seems that BBC cares about their opinions.
We're always interested to hear what young people think. A lot of our content is aimed directly towards young people. So if you look at things like Newsbeat, The Social in Scotland are very youth-friendly, youth-orientated platforms. And that's something that News is trying to do across the board, I think.
Today we are meeting with a content producer and filmmaker Rehan, who is actively collaborating with a project of the BBC called Social. Hi Rehan, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you.
What are you going to do now?
Currently I'm doing some club planning today at George Square for an upcoming episode of Captain Glasgow, which I'm working on with BBC and Social.
Are you going to show us how you're doing this?
I'd love to show you what I'm up to do.
Okay, let's see. Rehan collaborates with BBC Scotland more than half a year and considers this experience as a big self-opportunity. His passion about comics led him into producing a video series called Captain Glasgow and making parody series on Marvel's trailers. As he emerged into the process, we could observe it, and he's thinking seriously about opportunities which the Social opens ahead of him. But it all started with one single comment.
So I see the comment and I see someone, it just looked like a very generic comment. It says, "Hey man, we're working on a pilot for the BBC and I'd like to get you involved." And when I saw that, I almost laughed at it. I was like, no, I was so cynical about it. But as cynical as I was, I still contacted them back and I sent them a message, and before I know it, I was in the BBC studio. So it's all been really exciting for me, going from just recording in the house to now working with the BBC. I feel it was a crazy opportunity and it's a really good platform for reaching people.
Young team.
Executive producer of the BBC's The Social, Anthony Brown, describes the project as a place for young and creative content producers across Scotland to share with what they are passionate about. The unique aspect of The Social is that it strives to represent young people in this country properly and with a whole variety of voices. Anthony said that despite being in the early stages, the project has the potential to grow and become a part of the creative landscape in Scotland. As for young bloggers, The Social can become a path into the BBC's TV production.
We want to be a place where all those young, talented Scottish people can come together and the audience can say, right, I'm interested in what's going on in Scotland, here's where I go, and I'll be able to see the full range. So we've got comedy, music, lifestyle, pretty much anything.
It's clear that the blogging experiences of young people will further distance them from the consumption of classic TV programs. However, the broadcasting industry is not yet ready to lose the battle. On the contrary, practices show that the TV industry tries to adapt to new conditions and to collaborate with its young audiences by creating content for them and by attracting them to produce content for their peers. Ultimately, it's the young people who will bring fresh and creative ideas into ever-changing TV news environments. Goodbye.